Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2. On today's program, Bucks play the Knicks. We're going to break that game down. We're going to break down Brook Lopez, the bench, Chris Middleton making a fourth quarter appearance. Lots of good stuff. Dame time in the fourth quarter. Let's get going.
Lillard, step back three, on the way, got it! Damian Lillard, welcome to the Cream City. Dame time has arrived.
You're listening to the Milwaukee Bucks Beat, sponsored by Hungry Lion Productions Video Production Services. Video production from start to finish. Hire them today at hungrylionproductions.com. And now, here's your host, Michael Edwards.
Everybody, welcome to the program. I'm your host, Michael Edwards. And as they say, back in the day, the Bucks are green and growing. What a game against the Knicks. Wow, another fourth quarter, hold your breath, breathe into a brown paper bag moment, but they do get the win. So here's what happens, okay? And I think Coach accidentally slipped. I'm going to play a clip here. So basically what happened in the huddle is some players went to Coach and said, hey, Brook was playing mid-range. We're going to bring him down low to protect the rim. Brook gets 8 blocks, has a monster game defensively. Ultimately, one of the main reasons we win this game. And I'm going to talk about this on the other side. Here's what Coach had to say.
Sometimes as coaches, we are too smart for our own selves. And so a couple players came to me, I won't disclose, but they wanted not Chris, but Brook deeper in the drop. And, I was smart enough to listen to him and paid off tonight.
Before I break this one down, I think he accidentally... He said, I'm not going to say what players said this, but then he said, Chris, listen to this part right here. I think he slipped.
A couple players came to me, I won't disclose, but they wanted not Chris, but Brook.
That 100% sounds like something I would do. So no big deal. Doesn't matter who the players were. The fact that Coach listened to his players, considered it. He still made the choice, though. His players don't run the team. He runs the team. I thought that was pretty awesome. So this is a step in the right direction. I think Adrian Griffin is proving that he's a leader. He has their respect. And Brook was asked about this, and here's what he had to say.
Obviously, I was very appreciative of that. I think we have a lot of guys that are very coachable, and to have a head coach who's willing to listen in that regard, and talk those things out, that's great. And there's obviously going to be a lot of that this season, going with the great things that Coach Griffin brings to the table, our coaching staff brings to the table, and then the things a lot of experienced guys on this team are used to or know from being in this league for so long. It's going to be a lot of give and take, feeling things out, and that's going to make us such a great team in April, May, June, than we are even right now.
And that's what this is all about. We're in November, early November. These games, they matter. But do they? I mean, how many times do you see a team hot before the holidays, and then by the time you get to spring, there's nothing going on, right? So ultimately, Bucks fans, and I'm one of them, so I need to take my own advice. We got to stay patient with this team. They're definitely growing. It's going to take time. It's like dating someone. You don't fall in love right away. You might know there's something there, right? If you've met your spouse or your partner, you met them, you're like, hey, there's something there. But it takes time, right? And it's not any different with this basketball team. It's going to take time. New coaching staff, new players. And Brook went on to talk about the philosophy on defense.
I'm comfortable with the drop. I like the drop a lot. But, again, we're a coachable group. And if we see something that we think we can do to take advantage of a team defensively, we're going to do that. So, it's a lot of give and take, a lot of feeling things out. We're going to keep learning on the fly.
And that is it right there. They are learning on the fly. He admitted it. They are. But that's all they can do, right? I don't want to get too deep on you. I know this is a Bucks podcast, but I'm a father. And for you parents out there, sometimes you are playing the coach and trying to motivate your children. And that's what's happening here is sometimes people just learn better from experiences, right? I know it sounds like I'm talking to my son right now, but it's true. So this team needs to have these experiences so they can grow from it. And I think today was a step in the right direction. Now, is there a lot to clean up? Yeah. 7-minute drought in the fourth quarter. Bucks hang on, get the win. And let's kind of talk about that fourth quarter. There's a few things I noted here in the fourth quarter is Giannis had a lot of turnovers. Matter of fact, he didn't do a press conference after the game, which is not normal for him. So I haven't heard anything. I don't know why that happened, but I also know Giannis and Dame did have a leave of absence the day before they played. So they played on Friday. On Thursday, they had and Giannis kind of spoke his mind, and we can get into that if it becomes a problem. But I want to focus on this game for this podcast. 7-minute drought. Bucks choke up a lead again, and that hangover from last year in the playoffs. I'm telling you, it is like the anxiety sitting in the corner, the Shadow King, if you will, coming to attack the Bucks, playing a great game. I mean, they deserve to win this game. But then 7 minutes, it's just fourth quarter. I'm saying, here we go again. Dame talks about what the Knicks did to shut the Bucks down in that 7-minute stretch.
I just think it was more of our lack of execution than it was them changing anything. I mean, they didn't do anything different defensively than they had done the entire game. I just think at that time, we weren't assertive enough. We weren't attacking.
Besides Dame's game being off the charts, I respect his basketball IQ. He is a really smart man. And I mean, I listened to all the press conferences, obviously. And one of the things he talked about was the X's and O's, and he really gets into like what he was thinking and the value of having a player like that lead a team like the Bucks. Pretty amazing. So we come out of this 7-minute drought. Chris makes an appearance in the game. He plays 4 minutes. So on the floor to close out the game is Dame, Giannis, Chris, Brook, and Crowder. Coach talks about being able to have his top players on the floor together finally at crunch time.
And we're still learning, we're still growing, we're still understanding each other. And I thought we took a big jump as far as our chemistry. Dame, Giannis, Chris out there. Man, 4 minutes make a difference. We had Chris at 20, 21, and we needed all those minutes down the stretch. So it's good to have him on the floor.
So it's coming together. I mean, Bucks fans, you've got to stay patient though. And I mean, I hear my voice saying that, and I'm sure my wife is listening to this saying, hey, quit yelling at the TV. But it's true. We got to be grounded in reality. It's going to take some time. So you're starting to kind of see it unfold here. And quite frankly, I want to see Marjan out there with those 4. I mean, he's known for his defense, but boy, did he have a game last night. Whew, man. And that's what I said in the last podcast. If these dudes off the bench start hitting shots, I'm going to say it again. Good luck. I'll blow you a kiss. Good luck. You're not beating us. Marjan goes 5 for 7, 71% from the field. He's a +5 with 13 points. Man, he hit some shots, some big shots when we needed them. And a man who's known for his defense, really starting to come into his own, really starting to get some confidence. That is what you want to see off the bench. So let's talk about this fourth quarter, finish this up here. Bucks have a big lead. And, I think something that is definitely worth noting, Bucks give up 14 offensive rebounds in the first half. And the Bucks make 19 3-pointers, and they had to squeak this one out. But in the second half, they only give up 2 offensive rebounds. Ultimately, that's the difference. Second chance points killed the Bucks in the first half. You're seeing the progression here. Obviously, if you haven't seen the game, which I'm assuming you have, but, Bucks come in, minute 3 left, down by 1. They bring the ball down the floor. I believe it was Giannis brings the ball down the floor, has Dame on the baseline. Dame cuts back to the 3-point line, has his player trailing him, knocks down a 3. Just boom, right away. As Bucks fans, we're not used to that. That's amazing. I mean, that's what other teams do against us, right? So that's cool. And then obviously, Knicks come down, Bucks get a stop. Chris is pushing the ball down the floor, cuts it back to Dame, gets N1. And that's all she wrote, pretty much, right there. So, nail biter for sure. But let's talk about Giannis here. So he's got a little bit of a mixed bag here. So he doesn't do a press conference yesterday, which is weird. He seemed frustrated. And looking at his numbers, I mean, his game wasn't terrible. I mean, I think there's obviously a different standard here for Giannis, which may or may not be fair. I don't know. That's up to you to decide. He hit 3 3-pointers. I mean, I don't know when that's going to happen again. There's one thing I did notice, though, is Brook had 15 attempts from the field. Giannis only had 10. I mean, he shot 60%. He was plus 13. But for whatever reason, it just seemed like he was off. And I mean, they're talking on the broadcast about, Giannis might not be in basketball shape. That's probably true. He definitely struggled with his free throws. I mean, in that fourth quarter, there were some turnovers that were costly. His picks seem really lazy. So, obviously when you're gassed, sure, that's what's going to happen, right? So it's not okay that that's the case. But I mean, I know in the off season, I would imagine he works out, but he's not playing basketball. So we just got to give this team some grace. The only goal here is a championship, and you don't win it this early in the season. It's what you do in the playoffs. So ultimately, everything we do is towards that. It doesn't matter what seed we are. Honestly, it doesn't, because we won the championship as a third seed. So let the other teams talk. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So did Giannis have a good game, or did he not have a good game? Like, by Giannis standards, he probably didn't. If you look at your average NBA player, though, I mean, listen to these numbers. Plus 13, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 60% from the field. You're happy with that, right? It's not terrible, but obviously Giannis has set the bar so high for himself, 35 minutes too. This is how it's going to be. I mean, Dame picked it up. I mean, 30 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. But I mean, shot almost 50% from the field, 57% from three-point land. I mean, the Bucks had, I think it's 5 guys in double figures. I mean, let's see. Chris had 12 points, Giannis with 22, Jay Crowder with 14, Brook Lopez with 13, Dame 30, and Marjan with 13. And that's the kind of production you want to have. I mean, that is well-rounded, fundamental basketball, offensively at least. And they're only going to get better, okay? So that's one thing, is right now they're kind of mid, okay? They're not blowing teams out. All right, so there it is. Bucks coming up here, they've got, I would say they have a favorable schedule, but notice I didn't talk about their last game against the Raptors because there's really not much to talk about. They got their ass kicked. It looked awful. It was the Atlanta Hawks game part 2, if you will. And, this game against the Knicks was kind of like the 76ers game part 2. It's like watching the same game in a way. So up next for the Bucks, they've got the Nets on the road. They're home against the Pistons, and then the Pacers and Magic. And I will say I have circled on the calendar November 15th. It's a road game against the Raptors. I don't know about you Bucks fans, but that game really pissed me off. It's like anytime the Bucks made a run in that game, the Raptors just slammed the door. And they're not, quote, supposed to be a good team at all, but man, did they play good against us. Doesn't it seem like teams shoot the lights out against us, and then against everyone else, they just fall apart? So there it is. Episode 2. We're going to try to get some guests for you, because I know my voice only goes so far here. But thanks for listening. I appreciate you. We'll see you on the next episode.